live in New York. I live in New York. How many times have I heard out-of-towners say to me, New York is a nice place to visit, but I could never live there. Even as a child, I had no patience with that statement. I instinctively understood that a person could live in New York because I and my family lived here. As I grew older, I began to understand that people who claimed it was impossible to live in New York were just impatient and not interested in how other people lived. But there was something else they said which has some justification. They said that people in New York don't live, they just exist. Well, that statement is not quite fair, because there are all kinds of people in New York, just as there are in other places on earth. However, just between ourselves, let's be frank with each other. Do you live in New York, or do you just exist here? Do you ever raise your eyes from the pavement or the store windows or the newsstands and try to see some of the beauty that surrounds you? Do you live in New York, or do you just exist here? Do you follow this pattern of existence which many people do? They leave their home, buy a paper, go into the subway, read the paper, go to the office, work 8 hours, leave the office, buy a paper, go to the subway, go home, watch television, go to sleep, get up, and start all over again. Do you do this, or do you live in New York? If you are driving along the parkways of this city and get stuck in a traffic jam, what do? Do you sit in your car and fume? Do you get angry and irritate your ulcer? Do you curse all the drivers ahead of you and all their family and friends to the 10th generation? Or do you know how to enjoy getting caught in a traffic jam? Did you ever use this opportunity to look outside of your car and try to enjoy the natural and man-made beauty of New York City? Did you ever see the magnificent rivers and bays which surround and twine and interlace this city? Did you ever ride in a jam-packed BMT Express from Brooklyn and get a thrill as you crossed the Manhattan Bridge and saw the awe-inspiring wonder of the East River and its traffic, of the parkways running around Manhattan Island, and of the busy industry bustling in the greatest seaport in the world? Or do you just stand there and think of your aching feet and the unpleasantness of the people who are packing you in that train like a herring in a barrel? Do you live in New York, or do you suffer? When you leave your office to go to the subway, did you ever think of walking to the next subway station and visiting the city on the way? Just because your address is New York City, does that mean you are not permitted to be a tourist in this greatest tourist attraction in the world? Do you know that you live inside one of the greatest outdoor museums in the world? You live in an art gallery which has no admission charge and no closing hours. Have you ever bothered to visit it? Did you ever raise your eyes above the shop windows and your own eye level to the second or the third story level? Didn't you see the Greek and Roman styles, the Romanesque, the Rococo, the Baroque, the beautiful Gothic styles which fill New York's streets? Did you notice the Statue of Liberty on top of a building at Broadway and 68th Street? If you didn't see these things, it's because your eyes are focused at the ground and don't look upward. Did you ever consider the beauty which is the trademark of New York, the jagged skyline and the pointed skyscrapers? Did you ever think how beautiful a sight they present to the eye? And if you think the sight is ugly, did you ever stop to contemplate them and just gaze upon their magnificent ugliness? Do you rush to the office from home and back home from the office, or do you ever stop to rest your soul and look at the other people rushing from home to office and back? You can really live in New York if you make the effort. Did you ever think of getting up and driving around Manhattan at 7 o'clock on a Sunday morning? If the sun is shining brightly, it is a soul-lifting and thrilling experience. The beauty is inspiring. It can make your heart sing. And you can have the thrill of being alone in a city built for millions. Yes, my friends, you can live in New York if you want to. The secret of living in New York is the secret of living anywhere. It takes an approach to life which can make you enjoy it, whether you are in Salem, Ohio, Leesburg, Virginia, or Hong Kong. The secret of living is not in what surrounds you, but in what you surround. You can live or you can exist. You can be a slave of your clocks and your calendars and your schedules. You can even be a slave of your vacations. But if you are a slave, it is only because you choose to be. The Bible tells us that occasionally, because of some misfortune, a man may become a slave. However, this may only be temporary. Essentially, a man is free and can be free. But, says the Bible, if a man chooses to be a slave, he will be a slave forever. The secret of life and its enjoyment is within each and every one of us. You, too, can live in New York.